All right, we're back on the record in 2023 CR 10004 State versus Tyler Ashbaugh. Can I have parties announce
Megan Galloway and Jason Garahan for the state.
for the defense?
Nathaniel Navy and William Salazar for Mr. Ashbaugh.
And Mr. Ashbaugh is present.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and state you're saying that you wish to invoke the rule?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And for the record, the state had requested that the rule be invoked off the record in the presence of the defense counsel. So now we're just putting it on the record that the rule is invoked.
I understand, Judge, and if I could just instruct the witnesses
Yes.
what that means.
We just have this one matter that should be brief. And if you could let them know, we just have one brief matter and then we'll call them in. Two.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And to both sides, Deputy Laura was going to let the jury know that we're going to start at 2. That way they won't be waiting. And what I can tell parties, when she tells the jury we'll be starting at 2, nobody ever says that it's anybody's fault. Usually we just say, I have a docket. All right, and I'm assuming Mr. Porter is with her at the moment?
I would assume so, Judge.
Okay.
He made it clear that he wanted to talk to her before.
Okay.
I spoke. Which I understand.
Wow. Okay. It's a good thing you check. All right, could someone check on Mr. Porter and find out what the ETA is?
There. T-shirt, not read the court reporter for hearing. Okay, she takes down everything. Just make sure you speak loud enough so that she can hear you. Okay.
All right, if you can raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record, please.
Tatiana Martinez de Escobar.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
Your Honor. Ms. Martinez Escobar, did you and Tyler discuss that and agree together to regard each other as husband and wife prior to May 2022?
Yes, we did.
You did?
Yes.
And when was that?
It had been a couple of times that,
It had been multiple times before that?
yes.
And did y'all take further steps after expressing y'all's commitment to further express that commitment to each other?
We bought rings that we gave to each other.
And when was that y'all gave rings to each other?
Tyler gave me my ring about a month before my first child was born,
And when was that?
February 2019.
And at what point did you and Tyler live together as husband and wife?
October 2021, I believe.
And did you and Tyler refer to each other as husband and wife in front of other people and when talking about each other to other people?
Yes, we did.
And who would those people have been that you referred to Tyler as your husband in front of?
Mainly family, coworkers, friends.
And since May of 2022, you've had another child with Tyler, is that correct?
Yes.
And y'all also took the further step to formalize your marriage after that as well.
Yes, sir. It was before my son was born.
And if the court does it find you to be Tyler's common law wife, is it your intent to invoke spousal privilege in this case?
Honestly, I'm not sure yet. I just barely talked to an attorney. I'd follow his legal advice, obviously, but personally, as of right now, I don't think I want to testify.
So at
So
this
yeah,
time,
I would be planning to invoke.
so let me ask you, is it your intent to invoke spousal privilege in this case?
Yes.
House the witness, Your Honor.
Right, state.
Okay, Miss Martinez. Is it Martinez de Escobar?
It's Martinez de Escobar, yes.
Okay. And so you said that you all agreed to be married multiple times prior to when? I guess just walk me through it chronologically. When was the first time that you guys agreed to be married?
As probably as soon as I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter.
Okay,
It was an
and-
ongoing discussion throughout my pregnancy with my daughter.
Okay, and when did you become pregnant with your daughter?
I want to say July of 2018.
Okay, so July of 2018. At that time, was Tyler living with his parents at Buckmore and you living with your parents?
Yes.
Okay. The next time that you all agreed to be married, when was that?
About a month before my daughter was born. That's when I was more in agreement. So in February of 2019.
February 2019, okay, and at that time, was Tyler still living at the Buckmore residence and you still living with your parents?
No, we were living together at my parents' house.
You were living together at your parents' house?
Yes.
Okay. And then after that, when are you saying that you all agreed to be married?
It was just an ongoing discussion. I was more for we're married in God's eyes, we're married. And Tyler really wanted to get legally married. It was just an ongoing discussion, but I always considered us married.
Okay. Now, in this case, you were taken down to the police headquarters, is that correct, after Tyler was arrested?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
So when Tyler was arrested, do you recall that?
Yes,
Okay, and when Tyler was placed under arrest, that was at your apartment, correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so after he was placed under arrest, you and your daughter Davina were there at the apartment, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and so police officers took you from your apartment to the police department headquarters. Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so you met with a detective on that day. Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you provided a written statement. Do you recall that?
I provided a verbal statement and they typed it for me.
Okay. Now I'm gonna show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit R8. Do you recognize this?
No,
That's not your
I
handwriting?
mean, no, that's not my handwriting.
Is that your name?
That is my name, yes.
Is that the correct address that you lived at?
Yes, it is.
Is that your correct phone number?
Yes,
Is that your date of birth?
yes,
Is that your correct race, sex,
yes, ma'am.
age?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your correct social security number?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
My sister's name is spelled incorrectly.
And right here, I want you to look at that. It says married, yes or no. What is checked there?
No,
Okay. Now, when we get down here, it says nearest relative. Who is that? Cassandra Hill.
that's my sister.
Okay, is that her correct phone number?
Yes.
All right. Now, moving on, do you recall stating to the detectives, Tyler and I have dated for approximately 4 years and have lived together at the apartment since October 2021. We share a 4-year-old daughter together too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so there's no mention in here that you all were married or holding yourself out to be married, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now regarding the apartment that you lived at, that address was 12607 Judson Road, apartment 11, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And y'all had lived there together exclusively since October 2021, according to this statement, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, whose name was on the lease of the apartment?
Both of ours.
Okay. And, your daughter lived there with you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Prior to you all living there at that location, I know you said that you previously lived at your parents' home with the defendant. Have you ever lived or can you explain the timeline of when he moved out of his parents' house at the Buckmore location and when he started living with you?
I want to say it was around January. So December 2018, January 2019. It was before I had my daughter. So towards the end of my pregnancy.
Okay. And then just regarding this State's Exhibit R8, is that your signature?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the date, did you write that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So at this time, the state offers State's Exhibit R8 for the purposes of this hearing.
Any objection?
I'm sorry, Judge, no objection.
All right, State's Exhibit R8 is admitted for purposes of this hearing, and if the court could view that, please. Any other questions?
Yes, Judge, if I could just. Okay, and so when you say that you all were holding yourself out as being married, you said that was to family and friends, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would that include your father, Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Would it surprise you to know that when he spoke with the detectives, when they were looking for Tyler, he never mentioned to them that you all were married?
No, that wouldn't surprise me.
You don't think that it would have been important for him to let the detectives know that?
No.
Okay, because when the detectives are asking him about the defendant's whereabouts, your father said, oh man, they have a kid together.
Yeah.
So it's important for the police to know that y'all have a kid together, but not that you all were married.
Yes, ma'am. That's honestly more just a representation of my father's relationship with Tyler, nothing else.
So not your representation to your father.
No, my father's just never been very fond.
I'm sorry, what was the last answer? I didn't hear it. Your father has never been what?
Very fond of Tyler.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna show you this State's Exhibit R9. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that your name contained on there?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that Tyler's name on there?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you all decided to formalize your marriage on what date?
It was May 2nd.
2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is this a fair copy of the marriage certificate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you guys obtained a 72-hour waiver period, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so why did you feel the need to take the step if you were already married in God's eyes? Why did you feel the need to go get a marriage license?
Again, it was really just a personal decision between me and Tyler. With everything going on, I didn't want anything to happen and him feel unfulfilled in our relationship, him feel like that was something he really needed. I already felt married to him. It didn't make a huge difference to me, but it meant a lot to him. And that was really what was important.
And when you say with everything going on, what do you mean by that?
I mean, with this trial, the risk that we have holding over our lives right now.
Okay, so the case specifically.
I suppose that is something that might have pushed me a little bit, just the
Okay.
pending.
So,
pending.
and Judge, at this time, I'm tendering states R9 for.
No objection.
All right. State's Exhibit R9 is admitted with an objection. We can go off the record. Could I see the attorneys up here, please? If you could step down for a moment. And Mr. Porter? All right. All right, State, you may continue with your question.
And I guess when you guys agreed to be married, was that to be in a relationship exclusive with each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, would it surprise you to know that in Tyler's phone, he was talking about having sexual relations with Harold and another female?
Yes, that would surprise me.
Okay. We passed the witness, Your Honor.
Now, before you received the marriage certificate, did you consider yourself to be married?
Yes, sir.
And was the marriage certificate further affirmation of your marriage together?
Yes, sir.
Did officers ever ask you definitively if Tyler was your husband?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Did the officers ever ask you specifically, is Tyler your husband or not?
No, sir.
When you say you've been dating for 4 years previously, were you using that term to encompass y'all's entire relationship together?
Yes, sir.
And would you consider the question, or I'm sorry, would you agree that we've been dating for 4 years to mean the same thing as we've been together for 4 years?
Yes, sir.
That's the Mr. Honor.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. The rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone. All right, thank you. All right, any other witnesses?
No, Judge.
All right, this is what the court is going to find. Based upon the evidence that has been presented in form of states exhibits R9 and R8, and based upon the witnesses' testimony, the court is going to find that the parties were not married, common law. The court is going to find, based upon states exhibit R8, by the witness's own testimony, the witness checked that they were not married. According to R8, the witness states that they were dating for approximately 4 years, that they had lived together at the apartment since October 2021. The court is finding that in the witness's testimony, the witness stated that sometimes, let me see. That they would hold themselves out together as married, but the witness stated that she was not surprised that her father wouldn't admit that they were married. But this is supposedly one of the persons that she said that she held herself out to be married. The court is also going to find that it's not a common law marriage, also because there has to be an agreement that there is a common law marriage. And in an agreement, there needs to be two people. The court is going to find that the defense's argument on the record at the beginning was that the witness and the defendant were girlfriend and boyfriend. And the defense's argument was that the privilege of not testifying, it did not matter if they were married or not married at the time the statements were made. The only thing that mattered was that they were currently married. So based upon all of the foregoing, and also based upon the fact that I do not find the witness's testimony credible, that she said that they were holding themselves out to be married, the court is finding for purposes of this trial that the witness and the defendant were not a part of a common law marriage. All right, Deputy Lawyer, if you can line the jurors up. Oh, Mr. Porter, can I see you for a moment? I'm going to give you the oath, and that oath is as it relates to this specific trial. Do you and each of you solemnly swear that in the case of the state of Texas versus Mr. Ashbaugh, you will a true verdict render according to the law and evidence, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand. State.
Yes, Your Honor. True bill of indictment in the name and by the authority of the state of Texas. The grand jury of Bexar County, state of Texas, duly organized and paneled and sworn on such September term AD 2023 of the 144th Judicial District Court of said county in said court at said term, and do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and anterior to the presentment of this indictment, count one, on or about the 22nd day of May 2022, Tyler Ashbaugh, here as the defendant, did use and exhibit a deadly weapon, namely a firearm, and the defendant did intentionally and knowingly threaten imminent bodily injury to P. Hymes, hereinafter referred to as complainant, by shooting at and in the direction of the complainant with said deadly weapon, and the defendant knew complainant was a public servant, namely a peace officer, while the complainant was lawfully discharging an official duty as a public servant in retaliation and on account of the complainant's exercise of official power and performance of an official duty as a public servant. Count two, on or about the 22nd day of May 2022, Tyler Ashbaugh, hereinafter referred to as a defendant, did use and exhibit a deadly weapon, namely a firearm, and the defendant did intentionally and knowingly threaten imminent bodily injury to R. Akuna, hereinafter referred to as a complainant, by shooting at and in the direction of the complainant with said deadly weapon, and the defendant knew complainant was a public servant, namely a peace officer, while complainant was lawfully discharging an official duty as a public servant, and in retaliation and on account of the complainant's exercise of official power and performance of an official duty as a public servant. Count three, paragraph A, on or about the 22nd day of May 2022, Tyler Ashbaugh, hereinafter referred to as a defendant, did knowingly discharge a firearm at and in the direction of a vehicle, and the defendant was reckless as to whether the vehicle was occupied, and that the defendant failed to make adequate inspection and inquiry regarding the presence of others therein. Paragraph B, on or about the 22nd day of May 2022, Tyler Ashbaugh, hereinafter referred to as the defendant, did knowingly discharge a firearm at and in the direction of individuals namely P. Hymes and R. Akuna, against the peace and dignity of the state, signed the foreman of the grand jury.
How do you plead to those counts? Thank you. You may be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know that sometimes people will want to take notes, but I discourage the note taking because Your notes are not the official record. The official record is what is given by the court reporter. And if you were in deliberations, you would not be able to use the notes. So usually it's just best to just actively listen to whatever is being said. Does everyone understand? All right, State, do you have any opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor. May 22nd of 2022 started out as an ordinary day for SAPD patrol officers Philip Jaimes and Ronald Akuna. The evidence is going to show in this case that Officer Jaimes and Officer Akuna were on duty the night of May 22nd of 2022. They are patrol officers that are assigned to the dog watch shift. And you'll learn what that means is that they work an overnight shift. This was an ordinary shift for them. They're in their marked uniforms and a marked patrol vehicle, and they're riding together. Officer Jaimes is training Officer Akuna at this time. Now, they are performing their duties, responding to calls for service, and they respond to a call regarding an aggravated robbery. That call has nothing to do with this defendant. Now, after they respond to the call regarding the aggravated robbery, they are entering some information and writing a report to document what they did on scene regarding that aggravated robbery. At this time, they decide that they need to pull in somewhere to continue writing their report and finish it before they go out on their next call. So they decide to pull into the Calvary Temple Assembly of God. This is located on O'Connor Road in Bexar County, Texas. What they did is they sat in that parking lot in their patrol vehicle facing toward O'Connor. They sat there for about 38 minutes until the actions of that defendant sitting right over there turned this into a day that they will never forget. They were sitting in their patrol vehicle and they observed a white SUV driving at a high rate of speed toward their marked patrol vehicle. At this time, Officer Jaimes is like, what's going on? He's going to testify that he's parked in this location multiple times and done the same thing. It's routine for him. He's going to finish writing the report. He would pull in somewhere. This is not anything out of the ordinary. And so he's like, why is this car coming so fast at me? So as a defensive mechanism, he puts his patrol vehicle in drive to try to out navigate. And what happens next is he sees a muzzle flash and he hears gunshots. And at this time, he believes that he is being fired upon, and he was. Now, crime scene investigators make the scene, they collect evidence, and you're going to be able to see that evidence and hear the investigation that they conducted on scene and the evidence that they collected. You'll learn that that evidence was sent to the lab, and you'll learn about the origins of that evidence and where it came from. Now, once Officer Jaimes and Officer Akuna get on their radio and they let people know that they've, shots have been fired, SAPD sends out a patrol presence who starts patrolling the area. And so Officer Jaimes did return fire at the vehicle, the suspect vehicle, that white SUV, and he busted the rear windshield out. And so it was clearly identifiable. So multiple SAPD units start patrolling the surrounding area, and one officer locates that vehicle. And you will hear about what that officer observed inside of the vehicle, the location of the vehicle, which was a residence located on Buckmore Drive that is associated with the defendant. And in fact, his father lives there. You'll hear about who had possession of that white SUV. It's a white Nissan Rogue, and the evidence that was collected from that car. You'll next hear from some lay witnesses that provided videos showing the direction of flight of the car from the church to the residence. Okay, so on the in-between time, the path of flight, all right? And then you'll hear about the investigation, how the defendant was developed as a suspect, the evidence that links him to this crime, and how officers gained information about his whereabouts, his location, and ultimately placed him under arrest. ladies and gentlemen, after you will hear from the lead detective as well about the investigative tactics that he took to file this case with the DA's office and his investigation into the actions of the defendant. And at the conclusion, once you've used all of the evidence, I'm confident that you will find the defendant guilty as charged in the indictment.
All right, defense,
Thank you, Your Honor. May I proceed?
yes.
May it please the court, counsel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. To be an innocent young man potentially facing the rest of your life behind bars, it normally isn't one factor that has to go wrong. It's a multitude of factors. And in Tyler's case, it's because on May 22nd of 2022, a number of these factors swirled together in the perfect storm that caused him to be sitting in this seat right here before you today. And that perfect storm was, yes, I'm going to be upfront with you, his own stupidity and carelessness. It's that, but it's horrible luck and timing. And it's also misperception. When you twist all of these things together, that's how that can occur. I believe that the evidence is going to show you that Tyler is not the monster that they want you to think that he is. Human perception can be incorrect, but unchangeable facts don't change. Unchangeable facts are stubborn things. And that's what I want you to look for throughout this trial. Those unchangeable facts that don't change. Not feelings, not perception, but the facts. You swore an oath to decide the case on the facts and the law. And so on May 21st, 2022, Tyler is working as a gas station attendant at Circle K. He's a cashier at Circle K. He would work afternoons and nights. Those were his regular hours. And as many of you probably know, being a gas station attendant does carry, especially if you're working nights, some degree of danger to it. And so Tyler was aware of certain incidents that had occurred at Circle K, and he worked at a gas station previous to that, a Murphy's. He was aware of certain incidents where a woman got carjacked, and there was other violent episodes that had happened at the gas station. So when he turns 21 and constitutional carry is now enacted in Texas, he decides, I'm going to start carrying a handgun in my waistband when I go to work. And so the evidence is going to show that, yes, he had a Canik 9mm semi-automatic handgun. And that's what he started carrying to work recently at that time. He had other handguns previous to that, but this is the one that he had on that night. And I'm going to be upfront with you too. Tyler has a very poor history of firearm safety. Tyler has no malicious firearm history, but just careless, stupid things that young boys, men will sometimes do. He had a history with his friends. It all started when one of them was playing a game with Tyler. It was at a car wash.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
May we please approach?
Yes.
A car wash, fires the gun without warning Tyler into the ground, into the concrete, as a joke to scare him. Something that probably all of you find appalling, but something that is careless and a bad joke and something that's very dangerous. You're probably going to hear other instances, where Tyler has shot into the ground, has shot at railroad tracks, where not at a designated point, discharging a firearm in a municipality. Yes, that is illegal. So he does not have some great history of firearm safety. Okay, and as the state mentioned, Tyler is living with Tatiana. They have a young child at that time. It's just the two of them living in an apartment together. They're living with their child. And so they only have one vehicle. It's a Nissan Sentra. And at this time, it's broken down. And so Tyler is borrowing his dad's white Nissan Rogue. He's driving it to work. His dad is upset. His dad on May 21st, 2022 is texting Tyler. He thought he was going to get the vehicle back the night before. So he's really upset with Tyler. I need my vehicle back. You're being irresponsible. They're having an argument back and forth via text. And it gets pretty personal. And so his father is insulting Tyler, saying how irresponsible he is. He doesn't have his vehicle back. He was supposed to get it back the night before. Tyler also had another bad habit, and that was he liked to go out partying. So he's a young father. At this moment in time, he's 22 years old. So recently, not too far removed from 21. He had a bad habit of going out and drinking and partying after work, not coming right home, even though he has Tatiana at home with their child. And so obviously that puts a strain between Tyler and Tatiana. Now on May 21st, 2022, that strain between them two is apparent. His father's upset with him. So at this point, Tyler feels like he's getting it from all sides. So he's really stressed. He makes another bad decision. He starts drinking at work. On a break, he goes to a liquor store. He buys a small bottle of brandy. He puts it in a gas station cup so that nobody can see what he's doing. And he drinks it at work. And he does that 2 times. So it's not just one little bottle of brandy, it's 2 over the course of when he's working. He also makes plans with his friend Harold Clements to once again go party after work because he was stressed. And so after work is over and Tyler's had his drinks, yes, he does drive, another bad decision. And he goes and he buys beer at a different gas station. He buys 2 of the 24-ounce Dos Equis beers. And he also takes, before he does that, he takes a coworker home. It was late. He thought it was dangerous, so he just gives her a ride home. He does that, goes and gets beer, and goes to Harold's place, where they drink more beer. They smoke marijuana. And so at this point, Tyler is heavily intoxicated. And it's getting late. It's getting between 1 and 1:30 a.m. And so they know at this point, well, if we don't go out now, we're going to miss last call and we're not going to be able to go to the bar. And so right here is where Tyler works. This was his gas station. He goes to the Motel 6, and that's where he meets up with his friend Harold. So this is where they're drinking after work. And they realize it's about to be last call. We'd like to go to a bar, not just stay here and drink. They decide to go to the Two Rivers Tavern. And so Tyler already knows my dad's already upset with me. We need to take 2 cars. Because after this, I need to go drop my dad's vehicle back off. And you need to follow me. Harold had been to his dad's place before, so more or less he knew the area where they were going. They get to the Two Rivers Tavern, where they're drinking even more. Tyler starts taking shots of Rumplemans. Now, it doesn't matter what your alcohol tolerance is at this point. Anybody's with the vast amount of alcohol intake that I've explained to all of you, anybody's going to be feeling it at this point. And so you're not going to hear any evidence that Tyler was aggressive, had any plans to harm anybody at the bar, was making any statements that he wanted to hurt anybody, that he had anything against law enforcement. In fact, I think you're going to hear the opposite. I think you're going to hear that Tyler respects law enforcement and respected them at a time when it was not popular to do so. And so they stay until last call at Two Rivers. And I think that the cell phone data that you're going to receive, the historic cell phone data, is going to corroborate that, yes, he was at the Two Rivers Tavern until last call. The last ping of his phone was at 1:55 a.m., nearly last call. And that doesn't mean that's when he left. It just means that's when the last ping occurred, when the cell phone does some activity it's going to pick up. Now, this whole thing happens at 2:01. So very, very close in proximity. I think that timeline is going to be important. And I want you to keep that in mind. So Tyler and Harold, Tyler's driving the white Nissan Rogue. Harold decides that, yes, I'm going to go to your dad's house as well. Tyler's dad's house is right here on Buckmore Street. And so they need to get from the Two Rivers Tavern to Buckmore. And Tyler is very drunk at this point, driving. Obviously, illegal, not a good thing to do. I think you're also going to see evidence that Tyler has bad eyesight. He has a Class A restriction on his license, meaning he's not allowed to operate a vehicle without corrective lenses. He's nearsighted, meaning he has trouble seeing things at a distance. He has an astigmatism, meaning he has difficulty making things out far away and seeing things at night as well. And I think you're going to see evidence that there is a very good chance he was not wearing his glasses that night, that they were recently broken and he does not wear contacts, and that he was not wearing his glasses that night. And so Tyler, in trying to get back to his dad's place, the street where there's an outlet to get back is Santa Gertrudis Street. Now, on Santa Gertrudis Street, there's also a church on the corner. And so there's a church on the left side as you're driving north on O'Connor Road. And obviously, Tyler does what many drunk people will fatally do. He makes a wrong turn. And he goes instead, he finds himself in this church parking lot at the CT Church Calvary Temple Assembly of God. And so Tyler, at this point, he had been thinking, I just got this firearm. I've never fired it before. Now would be a good time. Obviously, many of you would probably disagree with that, but this is not something out of the ordinary for him. He thinks he's alone. I think you'll see the evidence is that there's an open field on Santa Gertrudis Street, where in his mind, he thought he was. And so what Tyler does, Tyler's right-handed, by the way. That's going to be important too. So Tyler's driving, he makes a turn. He thinks he's missing his turn because he just sees a church to his left. He makes a turn, he racks the gun, and then with his left hand on the wheel, obviously it takes a lot more. You got to reach further over with your right hand. He reaches his right hand out, angles it towards the ground, and fires 3 shots. Bang, bang, bang. Now at that point, he can't hear anything. You have the interior of the car that just amplifies the noise. And his ears just start ringing. So he doesn't hear what happens next, he feels it. He just feels the percussion of his vehicle being struck with bullets. And so he feels that it's being struck. His back windshield blows out. He doesn't know what's going on. He just knows, oh my gosh, I'm under attack. Somebody's shooting at me. And there's no outlet at this church. What it does is it outlets onto another street, Viewcrest, where there's a dead end and you can't outlet to the street that he would need to get to go back to his father's place. And so he just tries to get out of there. He crashes up against the curb, goes down Viewcrest, hops over another little cul-de-sac curb to get back onto the street that he needs to get to in order to get to his dad's place. He gets back to his dad's place and he is terrified. He's freaking out. Harold gets there and he just says, oh my gosh, somebody shot at me. And so he doesn't want to go home at that point because he's thinking, I don't know who this is. Are they going to come try to finish the job? And so he doesn't want to go back to where him and Tatiana and their child live in the Oak Valley apartments. He goes back to Harold's place to spend the night. They go, he sleeps, they go into Harold's motel. They sleep there. He goes back, he wakes up at about 7 a.m. and he's just getting flooded with news reports about there being a potential shooting in the church parking lot at the CT Calvary Temple Assembly of God Church, and him being a suspect, and he's freaking out. He doesn't know what happens. He denies being involved to Harold. He says, I wasn't shooting at cops. I wasn't effing shooting at cops. As Harold is texting him saying, well, why did you do this? You didn't tell me that. Like, why would the cops be lying? And Tyler pushes back hard. I wasn't effing shooting at cops. Tatiana's text messages too. I think you'll see that she's texting Harold and she tells Harold, he's still saying he didn't do it. And so Tyler gets arrested and taken into custody. And now from the police. Yes, as Miss Galloway stated, they had just wrapped up a call about an aggravated robbery. But I think the details about that aggravated robbery are important. That aggravated robbery involved a white SUV. And so when they go to the church parking lot to pull in, they park. And I believe the evidence will show that Officer Jaimez says he blacks out the unit, meaning he turns all the lights off. I believe you'll see that the front of the vehicle is black. And I believe you'll see that it was dark at night. You can't see any, I believe that you won't see any stars or moon in the video because you'll see lightning flashes in the background, indicating there was cloud cover, further intensifying the darkness. And so the police are there under a tree in a black unit with their lights out, and they have this white SUV in their head. And so that's what I say when I say everything swirls together in this perfect storm. And so Tyler, with a white SUV, makes that wrong turn. And as soon as Officer Jaimez and Officer Acuna see that, I don't blame them for evaluating that as a potential threat, because that's what they were just investigating. And so they're on high alert at this point, continuously evaluating it as a potential threat. It starts coming towards them, Officer Jaimez puts it into drive so that he can be mobile if he needs to be. And then he describes hearing one shot. And so as soon as he hears that shot, he reacts quickly, to his credit. He reacts very quickly, springs into action, tries to throw it in park, doesn't, can't blame him for that, of course. They both bail out of the unit, they hop out, and he almost unloads his entire clip at Tyler. And now I believe the evidence will show that when the shot was fired, when Tyler's shots were fired, he was a good distance in front of them. And remember, he's right-handed. And so after that happens, there's no further shot as their broadside, which would be the closest shot possible, if that was your intent. And so Officer Jaimez hops out. His first shot is right when Tyler is basically broadside or has just passed, and then he almost unloads his clip. He shoots as the vehicle's going away. There was only 2 shots left in his clip, so I believe he shot 13 times at Tyler. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Nobody was shot. I believe the evidence will show that there were no spent rounds that were recovered. It was all shell casings. The officer's vehicle was not hit. It went down a hill. It crashed into a fence. It hit a tree. And I believe that's the only damage that it sustained when it rolled down that hill, crashed through that fence and hit that tree. That's the damage. It did not come from any sort of bullet or projectile. And so when you consider all these factors, and I don't believe that there will be any evidence in this case that will show that Tyler has anything against police officers, that he dislikes them, that he wanted to harm them. And the allegation itself is such a random act of violence. The allegation itself is so heinous. And in this case, you're going to see no signs that this is something that Tyler intended. And like I said, actually, I believe what you'll see is quite the opposite. You'll see Tyler's expressing his opinion at a time when it was not popular to express an opinion in support of the police, him doing that, defending police. And so I think when all of this evidence comes before you, when you don't decide the case on passions, feelings, but you look at the hard facts, it's going to be undeniable. And it's not going to be something that you're going to be able to overcome. It's going to get to the point where, yes, you'll have reasonable doubt, but I believe it's going to snowball to more than that. Where when you look at those undeniable facts, their story just doesn't make any sense anymore. And it topples over. And I need to remind you that all you need is one doubt. And that doubt's reasonable as to one element. And I believe that's what you'll have at the bare minimum. Thank you.
All right, state, call your first witness.
The state calls Officer Roland Akuna.
All right, can you raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up so everyone can hear. And if you'll state your name for the record, please.
Yes. My name is Officer Acuna, Roland Acuna.
All right, state, you may proceed.
Officer Acuna, how are you currently employed?
Through San Antonio Police Department.
Are you a certified peace officer?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been employed with the San Antonio Police Department?
As of now, I've been patrolling the streets for a little over 3 years.
Okay. And your title and assignment is a patrol officer, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What are your duties as a patrol officer?
I respond to calls, assist people.
Now to become a police officer, did you have to undergo any kind of training?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that?
About 9 months in the San Antonio Police Academy.
Okay. And in the academy, you learn all type of defensive tactics, law, penal code and everything like that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And after you exit from the academy, what is the next step in your training?
The next step would be the FTO phase. So
An FTO, does that stand for a field training officer?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you please explain that to the jury?
Yes, the FTO phase is the field training officer phase where you ride out with a training officer for about 3 months.
And is that an officer that's more senior than you?
Yes.
Okay, and so would he be, making sure that you're complying with all policies and procedures and training you on how to respond to calls?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to talk to you about May 22nd of 2022. Do you recall that day?
I do.
Okay. What was your title and assignment on that day?
I was working North Dog Watch overnight shift. I was about 2.5 months on at the time with my FTO.
And who is your FTO?
My FTO was Philip Hymes.
Okay. And so, how are you all working together?
So that night he was in the driver's side, so he was driving us for the night. I was on the passenger side. Normally we have it to where I was driving and he's in the passenger side observing me, but sometimes he liked to do this thing where on our Fridays is what we call it, where he drives on the last day and it kind of gives me a break and I get to focus on handling my reports.
And were you all in your SAPD uniform?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you all riding in a marked patrol unit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you said Officer Hyman was in the driver's seat and you were in the passenger seat, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, now you know the reason that we are here today, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so prior to that incident, have you all responded to any calls previously? Or preceding, like immediately preceding the incident that we're here for today?
Not pertaining to the defendant, but we had handled a robbery in progress call right before that.
Okay, and that was a robbery involving a deadly weapon, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so you responded to that call, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then how did you all, or where did you all end up when you were wrapping up that call?
So after we finished that call, we drove down to the Calvary Temple Church off of O'Connor Road. That's where Usually in between calls, if we have some time, we'll park there. I can work on my report, which is what I was doing that night. So my FTO allowed me to work on the report in between.
And that location, the Calvary location, is that located in Bear County, Texas?
Yes,
Okay. And so when you're working on your report, is it true that you're in the passenger seat and you're there working on the computer that's in the unit, is that correct?
yes.
Okay, and so while you all are sitting there, had you all done this before, or was that the first time that y'all decided to pull into that location?
We've been there before.
Okay, and when you say you've been there before, had it been like in the same capacity as you were just wrapping up on a prior call?
Correct.
Okay, and so while you're sitting there, writing your report, what occurred?
So as I was writing my report, I was typing it up. I remember my FTO looked up and I saw his focus went in front of us on the street. It is an open parking lot, so no one should really be around. No one ever really is around. It's late at night, and we're talking about 3 a.m., give or take. So activity itself is not very active at that time. At that point, I see that he focuses, and and obviously from that point, I turn my focus away from the computer, and I look up, and I see there's a white vehicle with headlights approaching our vehicle. At that point, Officer Hymas puts the vehicle in drive, and we start rolling forward to kind of meet the vehicle. As I could tell, it looks like the vehicle was kind of rapidly approaching us rather quickly. And due to the circumstances at that point, I had placed my hand on my gun just in case, just because of the circumstances. You never know. And of course, at that point, as the vehicle approached, it was about maybe like a car length or so away. I don't remember exactly, but it was just a little bit of a ways. And I remember seeing the muzzle flash come out from the driver's side window, and I heard the loud bang. At that point, I obviously registered that as a gunshot. At that point, I ducked down to take cover in my patrol vehicle. At this point, our patrol vehicle was still in motion. So it was continuing slowly down the hill. I exited my patrol vehicle, withdrew my firearm, and I was facing behind me as the vehicle passed us. My FTO had gotten out. He shot back. And then at that point, my glasses had actually fallen off at that point in the patrol vehicle, and the patrol vehicle was still rolling down the hill. So I honestly couldn't see very well at that point. So from there, I just held my gun up just in case if there was any kind of threat, and the vehicle continued to leave. After that point, I made contact with Officer Hymas. He told me to go take cover somewhere else. So I ran across the parking lot next to a building around the corner until we met back up until other officers arrived.
Okay, and so you stated that your glasses fell off, and so you decided to not return fire at that time, is that correct?
Yes.
Was your patrol vehicle equipped with a recording device at the time?
Yes.
Okay. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Granted.
Now I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 1. I'm taking it out of the white envelope. Can you tell me what this is?
Yes, it's the dash cam video of our patrol vehicle.
Okay, and have you reviewed this?
Yes.
And how do you know that you reviewed it?
I signed off on it in Sharpie.
Okay, and when you reviewed it, was it a fair and accurate depiction of the events as they unfolded on the offense date?
Yes.
I'm tendering State's Exhibit number 1 to defense and offering the same.
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection.
Permission.
Granted. Sometimes that screen has a glare. So there's this screen as well.
Okay, thank you.
I guess while we're waiting for the video to load, I'll ask you some more questions. And so did you call in the shots fired or what happened after that?
Yes, I hit my emergency tone, so we have a red button on our radio that whenever something happens where we can't hold the microphone as we talk, we can just hit that red button, the emergency tone, and what it does, it activates our radio, takes over primary on the channel, and it starts recording everything that occurs. So at that point, I clicked the radio, and I remember calling out, that shots had been fired and we needed assistance.
Okay. Did other officers make the scene?
Yes.
Okay. And so outside of just providing a statement and, did you have any other role in the investigation of what occurred?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And to be fair, I mean, when the shots were fired, you were in your patrol vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And so you did not identify the defendant, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's because you were unable to see from your vantage point, right?
Correct.
I'm gonna pass the witness at this time. And I'm attempting to
Load them.
download it to the computer.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Officer Quinn.
Good afternoon.
So you and Officer Jaimez responded to a call of an aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon prior to parking at the church, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was that in the early hours of May 22nd, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you as the trainee were responsible for investigating and writing that report, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you completed that call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you stated that that call involved a deadly weapon with a firearm, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so after that report, you needed somewhere to write that report, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the reports you were working on was for that robbery, as you stated, correct?
Yes.
And that white SUV, you stated it involved a white SUV, and that white SUV was trailing a stolen vehicle. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
That prior aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon involved a white SUV, correct?
As far as those details, I don't remember.
I thought you just testified that it did involve a white SUV.
I was talking about the current current
Okay,
case.
I'm talking about prior to this, before you park at the church.
Before I parked at the church.
Right, before you and Officer Jaimez parked at the church. You completed a call, correct?
Correct.
And that was a call for an aggravated robbery,
Correct.
okay, with a firearm.
Yes.
And that case somehow involved a white SUV.
Like I said, I don't remember what vehicles were involved other than the victim's vehicle itself of that aggravated robbery. Because they were in the vehicle, a vehicle had pulled up, two males got out, held them at gunpoint, demanded their purses, took their purses, got in their vehicle, and took off in the original vehicle they came in and the new vehicle, the victim's vehicle at that point.
A white SUV was one of the vehicles involved though, correct? It was suspected,
I honestly don't remember.
and that's okay. If I don't want to force you to answer one way that if you don't know. So if you don't remember, that's fine. Okay, so you don't remember if a white SUV was involved in that prior call.
Correct.
Okay. So you stated that you and Officer Jaimez parked at the CT church, correct?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 1. Take a look at that, please. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes, sir.
Is it an overhead map of the church and the surrounding area?
Yes.
Okay. And so in order to get to the church, you and Officer Jaimez were traveling north on O'Connor Road, correct?
Yes, I believe so. I don't remember which way directly O'Connor runs, if it's north or south.
I understand. But in this picture, you were going at least from south to north, correct?
From what it depicts in the picture, correct?
Okay, and then you took a left into the church.
Correct.
Okay. And Officer Jaimez parked the vehicle in this little artery that eventually leads out to Viewcrest, correct?
Yes, so the way the vehicle was facing, it was facing down the road. I believe it's O'Connor, that main road. And then there's that little side road right behind it that leads into the neighborhood directly behind it.
I understand. So it's at the top of a hill, correct?
Correct.
And when you pulled in, you did a U-turn because you stated that that your vehicle was facing O'Connor.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that more or less the location where the vehicle was parked is where that tree is, just to where the curb is?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
that's correct?
Mhm.
Okay. And Judge, I tender Defendant's Exhibit 1 to the state for any objection and offer.
No objection.
Right, defense exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection.
Okay. And now I'm going to show you what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 2 through 7. You just take your time, take a look at those. Do you recognize these photographs?
I do.
Do they appear to be fair and accurate stills of the dash cam recording on that night?
Yes, sir.
And that night being May 22nd, 2022.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would tender these exhibits, Defendant's Exhibits 2 through 7 to the state and offer into evidence, Judge.
No objection.
Right, defense exhibits 2 through 7 is admitted without objection.
Thank you. May I reapproach the
Yes.
witness? Okay. Can you tell the jury what we see in Defendant's Exhibit 2?
Yes, it's a dash cam footage of essentially where we entered the parking lot as we're driving up the hill.
Okay. And you described parking in the artery that leads back to Viewcrest eventually, correct?
Correct.
Facing O'Connor though.
Correct.
And you said the location where the vehicle was parked was very close to that tree that's by the curb line.
Give or take, yes.
Okay. And so can we see the tree in this photograph?
Very little, very
Okay.
dark.
It's very dark. Okay. And in Defendant's Exhibit 3, what do you observe in this photograph?
I observed us driving up closer to the building. Same thing next to that black truck. I remember that black truck specifically.
And so this is before Officer Jaimez makes the U-turn to park.
Correct.
Okay. And in this specific photograph, Defendant's Exhibit 3, we can see where this artery is that leads towards the back of the church and leads back to Viewcrest, correct?
Yes.
And at this point, the unit still has its headlights on,
Yes.
okay? And can we see this clear demarcation from where the headlights shine and where it ceases to shine?
Yes.
And now Defendant's Exhibit 4, this is where Officer Jaimez is completing the U-turn, correct? And is
Correct.
about to park,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Correct.
And we can also see where the light shines and where it doesn't, correct?
Yes.
From the headlights. And so down here somewhere is O'Connor Road. Is
Yes.
that right? Okay. And what color is the front of the police unit?
Black.
Black. And in Defendant's Exhibit 5, this appears to be where Officer Jaimez has completed the U-turn and is now completely facing O'Connor Road. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this is where he's about to park his vehicle so that you can write your report.
Correct.
Okay. And so are the headlights to the unit, do they appear to still be on at this point?
Yes, I believe so. I don't know. I can't really tell too
You want
much.
me to-
Yes, thank you. Yes, at this point.
Okay. And same thing with defendant's exhibit 6.
Yes,
Okay. And now with defendant's exhibit 7, the unit is parked, correct?
correct,
It's facing O'Connor Road.
correct.
And now at this point, the headlights are out.
Yes,
Okay. And do you recall Officer Hyman's blacking the unit out?
yes,
Okay. And so there's no headlights to the unit in this photograph.
correct.
And permission to publish these to the jury, Judge.
Granted.
Officer Acuna, you would agree that all vehicles that are in motion are required to have their headlights on at night, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That could be grounds for pulling somebody over if they have a headlight that's out or if their headlights are not on at night, correct?
On a public road, correct.
Okay. Part of that reason being that that person is harder to see when their headlights are out.
Correct.
It's harder for that person to see others without their headlights shining, correct?
Correct.
But it's also harder for others to see them if their headlights are out.
That is correct.
Okay. So would you agree that when the lights were switched out in the vehicle, it made it more difficult to see them when the lights were on?
Correct.
Okay. And is it fair to say that this spot specifically was selected so that you could write your report because you needed somewhere with some peace and quiet to write the report
Yes,
so that people wouldn't be bothering you?
more or less. So a lot of times we choose, it's a known spot for our North, when I was on North Patrol that for that 1 month. From my understanding, that was a normal spot that we like to go and park in between calls again, just for seclusion to avoid something like this. Also, so that way I can focus on writing my report. Especially at night, it's dangerous tactics wise. You never know who's walking up on you, never know who's driving up on you. So it's just more of a safety thing for us.
Okay, so somewhere where you could be secluded
Correct.
and somewhere where you would have minimal distractions.
Yes.
Somewhere where you believe that you would be left alone, correct?
Yes.
And by switching the headlights off, that's one further step to ensure you don't draw attention to yourself,
Yes.
to help you blend in easier to your surroundings.
Yes.
Okay. I could approach the witness, Judge.
Yes, and both sides, you can move forward to speak to the witness without it requesting.
I am going to show you what I've marked as defendant's exhibit 8. Okay, if you could review that and let us know if you recognize that.
They do.
Okay, is that another still photograph from the dash cam video?
Correct.
Okay, and this is where the unit is facing towards O'Connor.
Yes.
Okay. Now, from the location where you're parked, you would agree with me that there are structures to your right side.
A little bit further down on the right side, yes. I remember this right side over here being somewhat of a more of a grassy area.
Okay, but further towards the street, that's where the structures are.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Fair to say that that also blocks your view towards the traffic that's passing through.
Yes.
And the traffic that's passing through, that would block them at that point. for being
Yes.
able to see.
Mhm.
Okay. And in this photograph, what else do we see way down by the street? And here, I'll give it to
Let
you.
me see. I could see the vehicle or a vehicle on off of O'Connor at that point.
Okay, and it appears that it's about to turn in at this point.
Yes.
Okay. A tender defendant's exhibit 8 to the state and offer the evidence, Judge.
No objection.
All right, defense exhibit number 8 is admitted without objection.
Apologies to the jury.
Yes.
And how did you describe the shift that you said you were working,
The overnight shift?
the overnight shift?
Yes.
There was another word, I'm sorry.
Oh, dog watch.
What was that?
Dog watch.
Dog watch, okay. So, how often have you been assigned to the overnight or dog watch?
Well, at that point in my career, I was there for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Okay, and since then?
Since then, I had worked central dog watch for about a year and a half.
Okay, so same shift, just different location?
Correct.
Okay. So fair to say your experience working at night?
Yes.
Okay, overnight shifts as well.
Yes.
Okay. And so what time are bars forced to close at night?
Bars 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Okay. And so somebody that's experienced working that overnight shift, I'm sure you would agree that after 2 a.m., there can be an influx of intoxicated drivers on the road.
Yes.
Okay. And unfortunately, not everybody is responsible and plans a ride home. People do drive while intoxicated.
Unfortunately.
And so it would be common for you to encounter an intoxicated individual on the road at 2 a.m.
It's very more likely at that point, correct?
Oh, it's more likely than not. That's unfortunate. And in fact, I believe that before this alleged incident, you were about to be called out to a drunk lady. Was that right? And if you don't remember, you don't remember.
I don't remember.
And in your experience as a police officer, I would assume that you have a lot of experience coming into contact with intoxicated individuals working the overnight shift.
Yes.
Okay. You would agree that intoxication reduces reaction time.
Yes.
It can impair decision making.
Yes.
It can even impair eyesight.
Yes.
In fact, one of the tests, the standardized test to determine if somebody's intoxicated, is the nystagmus test, correct?
Yes.
And that's where you're determining if their eyes track smoothly from one side to the other, or if they kind of tick to the sides, right?
Yes. Correct.
And the theory behind that test is that when you're intoxicated, the muscles in your eyes actually kind of lose control a little bit of the eyes. Is that right?
Correct. Involuntary.
Involuntary. Okay. And nystagmus will even show up in people that are right around the legal limit, correct?
Correct.
And it just gets more severe the more intoxicated they are.
Correct.
So an intoxicated person may not be able to see as clearly as a sober person, correct?
Correct.
Blurry vision can be something associated with somebody being intoxicated.
Could be.
The eyes are another thing you would look at to determine if somebody's intoxicated, right?
Yes.
Whether they have watery eyes, bloodshot eyes.
Yes.
Okay. Would you also agree with me that intoxicated drivers are more prone to getting lost or making wrong turns?
Judge, I'm gonna object us to speculation and relevance.
I can't hear you, Megan.
Maybe approach this.
No.
Okay.
So your objection is speculation and relevance?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you need to lay the foundation.
Okay. You come into contact with many intoxicated people in your line of work as a police officer, correct?
Yes.
I would assume that you've responded to many DWIs
I have.
and DWI crashes too.
Yes.
One of the standard questions that you ask somebody is, do you know where you are? Right?
Yes.
And a lot of times if somebody is intoxicated, they won't know where they are. Is that correct?
More than usual, yes.
But that's a standard question for a reason, right?
Yes.
And that reason is because you're looking for a clue of intoxication.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so with the last exhibit that we went over, fair to say that the first opportunity you had to view the white SUV was when it passed that building on the bottom right-hand side of that picture, correct?
I don't remember exactly where in the parking lot it was when I saw it.
Okay. Can I approach the witness?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
So is this defendant's exhibit 8?
Yes.
And we discussed the location of the church structure by the road, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, this is clear. And so a vehicle traveling in this photograph from right to left,
Mhm.
the first opportunity that you have to see it in your field of vision is after it has already passed that building.
Yes.
Okay. There. And you stated that you heard a shot, correct, from that white SUV.
Yes.
It was it was moving in your direction.
Yes.
And you said before it even got to you, you had your hand on your firearm, correct?
Yes.
Fair to say, as soon as it starts moving toward you, you're continuously evaluating this white SUV as a potential threat.
Possibly yes. Mhm.
Okay. And then once you hear the shot, that confirms to you, yes, this is a threat.
Yes.
Okay. And so after you hear the shot, the vehicle still continues in your direction, correct?
Yes.
And that shot occurred when it was some distance in front of your unit, right?
Yes.
Okay. No more shots come from that white SUV when the two vehicles are side by side, correct?
I don't know at that point. Like I said, as soon as the first initial shot went off, that's when I ducked. So I didn't have any visual of the vehicle at that point. And then, like I said, that's when I jumped out of the vehicle on the side. I know at one point there was more gunfire from what I believe was my FTO at that point that returned fire. But I don't know exactly how many came from the vehicle.
Okay. But would you agree with me that the closest shot would have been when both vehicles are parallel to each other? That's the closest distance that the vehicles are to each other.
Yes.
Okay. And Officer Jaimez reacts very quickly, correct?
Yes.
He tries to put the vehicle in park.
I don't know about putting it in park. From my understanding, it looked like he just jumped out. But again, I wasn't focused on him at that point. I jumped out myself.
I understand you not being focused on whether he put it in park. Okay, but he hops out, correct?
Mhm.
And he fires shots at the white SUV.
Yes.
And you hop out, you said, correct?
Yes.
Out of the passenger side.
Correct.
And are you, like you're wearing today, were you wearing glasses on the date of the incident?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you hopped out, your glasses fell off your face, right?
That is correct.
And that made it difficult for you to see anything at that point, correct?
Correct.
And I believe in the video you state to Officer Hymas, I'm useless right now without my glasses. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you don't fire any shots, correct?
Correct.
Now, after you both hop out and Officer Hymas has fired all the shots that he's going to fire,
Mhm.
the vehicle, you notice it began to start rolling down the hill, correct?
Mhm. Correct.
So at that point, you know it wasn't put in park.
Correct.
And it rolls all the way down the hill and across O'Connor, actually, right?
Yes.
And it crashes over a fence and into a yard.
Yes.
Okay. And it hit the tree, correct?
I don't remember it hitting a tree, but I know it hit a fence.
Okay. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Sorry, you said I didn't have passage. Okay. You recognize Defendant's Exhibit 16.
Yes.
Okay. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the fence that was damaged after the vehicle rolled across the street?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, I'd offer Defendant's Exhibit 16, enter to state and offer.
All right, defense exhibit number 16 is admitted.
May I publish it?
Yes.
And so I'm going to go backwards and show you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 15. You recognize that?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the fence that was broken after the vehicle ran through it?
Yes.
Okay. And that's where the vehicle was retrieved.
Yes.
Did you retrieve the vehicle or did Officer Hymas retrieve it?
I don't remember who retrieved it.
Okay. And when the vehicle was retrieved, it was brought back to the parking lot, correct?
Correct.
And then it was positioned down the hill facing towards the back, correct?
Correct. Oh, I remember. It wasn't me. It had to have been Hymas because at that point I didn't have my glasses.
Okay, so you couldn't drive because you
Correct.
didn't feel comfortable driving
Correct.
without glasses. You did eventually find your glasses though, right?
In the vehicle.
In the vehicle. Okay, so they came out and they were in the vehicle and then you eventually found them there. Okay. And Judge, I Lieutenant Defendant's Exhibit 15 and offer.
What's the exhibit number?
15. I skipped one.
All right. Defense exhibit number 15 is admitted without objection.
Thank you. Okay. And now I'm going to show you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 17, 18, and 19. You recognize these.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, in what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 17, is this a fair and accurate depiction or a still of the dash cam of that unit on that night?
Yes.
Okay. And what do we see to the right of that screen?
That is me.
That's you? Okay.
Mhm.
So that was you, firearm in hand, looking back to see where the vehicle was.
Yes.
Okay. And defendant, what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 18, is this a fair and accurate depiction of the vehicle after it's been retrieved from the fence line?
Yes.
Okay. Same thing with Defendant's Exhibit 19. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the vehicle after it's been retrieved from the fence line?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the license number on the unit, if you could read that?
1418311.
Okay, so that's the license on the unit that you and Officer Hymas were in. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, you have to enter.
Yes.
Okay. or to tender to the state and offer an evidence.
No objection.
Okay.
Defenses 17, 18, and 19 are admitted without objection.
Do you remember Officer Jaimez toning out on the radio, shots fired?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you do that?
I did as well.
Okay. Do you remember Officer Jaimez describing the vehicle as a white Honda Pilot?
I do not.
Okay. And as you stated, you weren't able to get a visual on any occupants inside the white SUV.
Correct.
Okay. You couldn't see if there was just one driver.
Correct.
You couldn't see if there were multiple passengers.
Correct.
You weren't able to see any identifying features of anybody in that vehicle.
Correct.
Fair to say the darkness had a contributing factor to that.
Correct.
Okay. And now, thankfully, you weren't struck by any bullets, correct?
Yes, thankfully.
And neither was Officer Jaimez,
Correct.
and neither was the unit.
From my understanding, no.
Okay. And you and Officer Jaimez, well, I'll retract that. What was the last exhibit number that I had? 19? Okay. And now, Officer, I'm going to show you quite a few pictures. So I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 20 to 44. You could take your time, look through these, and let me know if you recognize the vehicle in these photos.
It appears to be our patrol vehicle that we used.
Okay, so these are fair and accurate pictures taken by the San Antonio Police Department on the night of this incident, correct?
From my understanding, yes.
Okay. And anywhere that we can see the license plate in these photos, it's the same license plate that you read earlier, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Judge, I would tender Defendant's Exhibit 20 to 44 for the state and offer evidence. Reverse. 20 to 40. 40.
Judge, if we could just approach
Yes. All right, everyone, please be seated. And defense, you wanted to offer some exhibits into evidence?
Yes, Judge. Defense is offering defendants exhibit 21, 23, 25, 28, 31, 32, 33, 38, 41, 43, and 44 into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
All right, then defense exhibits 21, 23, 25, 28, 31, 32, 33, 38, 41, and 43 and 44 are admitted without objection.
May I publish into the jury, Judge?
Yes.
Okay, Officer Acuna. After Officer Jaimez retrieved the unit from across the street, you stated that he parked it and it was facing in the direction away from O'Connor Street, correct?
Yes,
So it was facing the hill.
yes,
Okay. And once the vehicle leaves the scene, the white SUV,
Mhm.
it does not come back, correct?
correct.
Right? And before any other officers arrive, you and Officer Jaimez begin looking for shells at the scene, correct?
Yes,
Okay, with your flashlights, right?
yes,
Trying to identify which ones might be Officer Jaimez's
yes,
and which ones might be different from Officer Jaimez's.
correct.
Okay. And eventually, you and Officer Jaimez laid crime scene tape, correct?
Yes,
I believe from one of the trees across.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes,
Okay. Now, in your experience as a police officer, I would assume you have to be very proficient in firearms, correct?
correct.
And a casing is an item that after somebody fires a shot, the casing is ejected from the slide, correct?
Correct.
Now, locations of casings are not always 100% accurate as to the locations of where the shots were fired. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
Because they can take different bounces.
Yes,
They can strike different things.
yes,
They can be carried forward or backward.
yes,
If there's a vehicle in motion, it could hit a windshield,
yes,
carry forward. It could hit a tire and carry forward.
yes,
And if there are other vehicles that drive through the scene before the crime scene is laid, that could possibly alter the locations of shells too, correct?
yes,
And you did locate Officer Jaimez's shells, correct?
yes,
And you did locate two other shells that were of a different caliber from Officer Jaimez's shells.
yes.
What was the caliber of shells from Officer Jaimez's firearm?
At that point, it was 40 caliber.
40 caliber. And the other caliber of ammunition, just the shells that you found, were 9mm, correct?
I don't remember.
Okay, you don't remember? Was there two?
Yes, but I
Okay.
remember there was two different ones, at least different looking ones, but I don't know. I don't remember the calibers.
Okay, so you don't know if they were the same calibers or different calibers.
Correct.
Okay. All right. May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
Okay. I'll show you what's been marked as defendant's exhibits 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, and 51. Take a look at these and let me know if you recognize those.
Yes,
Okay. Are these fair and accurate still photographs of the dash cam video on that night.
Yes,
And in all of these photographs, the unit is now facing away from O'Connor.
correct.
This is when the unit has been retrieved from across the street and brought back into the church parking lot.
Yes.
Okay. And Judge, I would tender these exhibits to the state and offer into evidence.
Judge, may I approach the bench?
Yes.
in Defendant's Exhibit 45. Once again, the vehicle is facing away from O'Connor towards the hill, correct?
Yes,
And from this, in this photograph, where the vehicle had previously been parked was approximately under this dark tree, correct?
correct.
Okay. And you stated that you and Officer Jaimez were looking for shells
At this point, yes.
at this point. And what's the timestamp say in the video in the top left?
5:22:22 at 2:05.
Okay. And did this incident occur at 2:01 a.m.? Or do you not remember?
I don't remember the time.
Okay. It occurred, would you agree that it occurred shortly before this time on this timestamp?
Yes,
Okay. And you stated that you were using flashlights to look for the shell casings.
yes,
Can you see a flashlight, what appears to be the light from a flashlight on top of the hill?
yes,
Is that probably, or is that you or Officer Jaimez looking for shells on top of that hill?
yes,
Okay. And then in Defendant's Exhibit 46, this appears to be when other officers respond to the scene, correct?
yes,
Okay. Now, in this photograph, no crime scene tape has been laid yet, correct?
correct.
And it appears that one of the units is making a turn somewhere near the top of that hill, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And in Defendant's Exhibit 47, also another still of the dash showing the hill, correct?
yes,
Do you see a faint individual on the top of the hill?
yes,
Okay. Is that you or Officer Jaimez
yes,
looking for shells? Okay. And then same thing with Defendant's Exhibit 49.
yes.
Okay. And in Defendant's Exhibit 49, what is the timestamp on the top left corner?
02:06.
Okay. 2:06 a.m.
Yes,
Okay. And now in Defendant's Exhibit 50, now do we see the crime scene tape has been laid?
yes.
Okay. Can you describe where it has been laid?
It looks like to be as attached to the tree and went across into the other tree that we have in the grassy area, possibly.
Okay.
It's hard to see the left side, but
It is, but possibly beyond that to one of the structures or something over there.
yes, yes.
Okay. And then if you can you see any individuals on the top of that hill?
I believe so. It's hard to make it out. I can't really tell.
Okay. And in Defendant's Exhibit 51, this is also after the crime scene tape has been laid.
Yes,
And can you make out any individuals at the top of the hill in this dash cam still?
no,
May I publish to the jury? Yes. So you would agree with me that it appears that one of the units, not you or Officer Jaimez, drove into the possible crime scene area before the crime scene tape was laid.
possibly.
Okay. But in the photograph that you looked at, there was no crime scene tape at that point.
Correct.
I would assume that part of your duties as a patrol officer are to obviously respond to alleged criminal conduct, correct?
Yes,
And to interview witnesses
yes,
and speak with those witnesses,
yes,
get their observations of an event.
yes,
And is it fair to say that sometimes you will speak to two different witnesses who describe an event differently,
yes,
even more so when it's been a stressful event?
yes,
Now, do you recall saying, so when you and Officer Jaimez are looking for shells on a hill, do you recall telling Officer Jaimez they shot from further down this way, pointing towards more of the bottom of the hill? You recall saying that?
I do not recall saying that.
Okay. But if it's on the video will show what it
Yes.
said. Okay. I'll pass the witness.
State.
Okay, Officer Akuna, I'm going to publish to you what is been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit number 1. And is that the front facing camera on your patrol unit?
Yes.
Okay, and so at this point, where is the patrol vehicle turning off to? What do we see on the left side of State's Exhibit number 1?
That's gonna be the church that we park into.
And so that's occurring at approximately 1:34 AM, is that correct?
Yes.
And just and so this right here that I'm toggling over, what is that?
It's a light.
Okay. And these two things right here that I'm toggling over affixed to the building, what are those?
Those are also lights.
And to the right, as we see Officer Jaimez make the U-turn, I paused the State's Exhibit. Can you depict what is depicted on, or can you describe, excuse me, what is depicted on State's Exhibit number 1 right now?
Yes, as you're making the U-turn, you can clearly see in the still here that there's a fence line and possibly a residence backyard.
Okay, I've paused the State's Exhibit. This that I'm toggling over right here, what is this?
Lights.
What is this right here?
Also lights.
What is this right here?
Another light.
And right here,
And another light.
and right here,
A light.
and right here,
A light.
and right here.
A light.
And so the vehicle becomes stationary at approximately 1:35 AM, is that correct?
That is correct.
I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. And so as we can see on the State's Exhibit, there are, other cars on O'Connor Road, is that correct?
Yes.
And your patrol vehicle is facing toward O'Connor Road, is that correct?
Yes.
And so this entire time, what are you doing in the patrol vehicle?
At this point in time, this is where I am working on my robbery of individual or aggravated robbery report.
Okay, so right now it's approximately 2 AM on the state exhibit number 1, is that correct?
Yes.
And on the right side of the state exhibit, we saw a person appear, who is that?
That was me.
And the vehicle appears to be in motion, is there anyone in the vehicle at this point?
No.
And at this point, it appears that the vehicle came to a final resting place in a residential backyard, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Do you know what is occurring on state exhibit number 1 currently?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What is occurring on state exhibit number 1 currently?
Yes, at this point, Officer Heim has retrieved the vehicle and drove it back to the location of the parking lot, facing the opposite way we originally were facing.
Okay. And the shell casings that were located, we see you using your flashlight. And so is that where you're looking for the shell casings?
So at this point, I am looking for my glasses because they had fallen off beforehand.
Okay. And are those other units, making the same?
Yes.
And who is that?
That is myself, and Officer Heim is putting up crime scene tape.
Okay. Does anything else notable happen on the remainder of State's Exhibit number 1?
No.
Now I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibits number 2 through 13. Can you please take a look at that and tell me if you recognize?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recognize the items that are contained within State's Exhibits 2 through 13?
Yes.
Are they a fair and accurate depiction of the items that are depicted at the time that the photos were taken?
Yes.
At this time, I'm tendering States 2 through 13 and inclusive to defense and offering the same.
May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Granted.
Okay, so I'm showing you what has been entered into evidence as defense or defendant's exhibit number 41. What does that appear to be to you?
The front of our patrol vehicle.
Okay, and where I'm pointing to right here, what is that?
It says SAPD on the grill of the vehicle or on the bumper guard.
And it's a reflective decal, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Same thing here, that's defendant's exhibit number 21. Is that reflective decal depicted in state exhibit number, excuse me, defendant's exhibit 21?
Yes.
Okay. And defendant's exhibit 18, that appears to be some damage to the front headlight, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, regarding defendant's exhibit 23, what is this that I'm pointing to right here?
The side of the patrol vehicle that says police, San Antonio Police.
Okay. And does that contain some reflective decal as well?
Yes.
All right. Defendant's exhibit number 25. What is this that I'm pointing to?
It is the passenger side also depicting San Antonio Police.
Okay, and does that also contain reflective detail
It does.
or decal, excuse me? Same question for defendant's exhibit 28.
Same thing as San Antonio Police with the reflective decal.
All right, and then same question for defendant's exhibit 31.
Yes, reflective decal on the front and on the side with SAPD on it.
Same question for defendant's exhibit number 32.
Yes, reflective decal depicting SAPD.
And that's located on the front bumper of the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
Same question for defendant's exhibit number 33.
Yes, this is going to be on the passenger side and on the rear of the vehicle with the reflective decal saying police.
Defendant's exhibit number 38, what is depicted there?
The rear of the vehicle saying San Antonio Police with the reflective decal and our unit number.
And it's hard to see because of the glare from the camera, but just regarding, defense asked you a question about the license plates. And isn't it true that the police department license plates are Texas exempt, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's something that only law enforcement can obtain, right?
Yes.
Defendant's exhibit number 43, what is depicted?
The driver's side of the vehicle reflecting with San Antonio Police reflective decal.
And then defendant's exhibit number 44.
The passenger side reflecting with San Antonio Police decal.
Okay, so it's fair to say that a marked patrol vehicle contains multiple reflective decals notifying the public that that is a vehicle from the San Antonio Police Department.
Yes.
Now I'm going to show you state's exhibit number 2. Okay, what is depicted in state's exhibit number 2?
A younger version of me wearing a San Antonio Police Department uniform.
And was this taken on the date of the offense?
Yes.
State's exhibit number 7, what is depicted in that?
This is the interior of the driver's side of the vehicle, of the patrol unit.
Okay, and this item that I'm pointing to, what is that?
That is the holder or the mount for our computer, our laptop.
Okay, and is the laptop what you would have been using to generate the report for the prior aggravated robbery call?
Yes.
State's exhibit number 10. What's depicted in state's exhibit number 10?
This is the interior of the passenger side of the vehicle where I was sitting.
State's exhibit number 11. What's depicted in state's exhibit number 11?
This is my firearm.
And what is depicted in state's exhibit number 12?
These are my 2 magazines and all of my ammunition within those magazines.
And state's exhibit number 13.
Again, my firearm with the 1 round that was in the chamber.
Okay. And state's exhibits 11, 13. Well, 11, 12, and 13 are all depicting you did not fire your firearm on that day, is that correct?
That is correct.
And then just regarding the ammunition that is used by the San Antonio Police Department, is there anything significant about the color of the ammunition?
Just that the fact that it's a silver coloring.
Okay. We talked to witness, Your Honor.
Defense.
I'm asking you, 135 on the counter or the time? On the real time. You know, one.
Officer Acuna, can you see what's been displayed? State's Exhibit 1. The timestamp showing 1:35 and 3 seconds.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So in this photograph, this is when Officer Hymas has parked the vehicle facing O'Connor Road
Yes,
before any shots are fired, correct?
correct.
What do you see in the top, very top right corner of this video?
It looks like a piece of, looks like a branch with some leaves.
Like a tree branch
Yes,
from that same tree that you stated earlier, most likely you guys were parked below, correct?
correct.
Okay. And Officer Acuna, do you recall what the weather was like that night?
I do not recall.
Okay. You don't recall if it was stormy or if the skies were clear?
I do not recall, but obviously in the video it showed that there was some little bit of lightning off in the distance.
You can see some thunderbolts and it looked like it was from behind clouds.
Yes,
Okay. Is it fair to say that it looks like it was cloudy that evening?
yes.
Okay, and then if we could play the video starting at 1:35:42 and let us know what you see in relation to the sky.
You can see that it's the lightning in the background behind some clouds.
Okay, so it's not raining at this point?
No,
Um, but there is significant cloud cover.
yes,
Okay, can you see the moon in this video?
no,
Can you see any stars in this video?
no.
Now, when you and Officer Jaimez, once one of you retrieved the vehicle and you two began to look for the casings, did either one of you find a spent bullet or projectile? Or were they just casings?
I don't remember finding a projectile. I remember just finding casings.
Okay. And there were no projectiles that were taken from your vehicle, correct? Your vehicle was hit.
Correct, correct.
Okay.
At least not to my knowledge.
Okay.
One, two, five. They're over there. This-
I'll track that. Okay, I'm going to show you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibits 52, 54, 55, and 56. And you let me know if you recognize this location.
It's very dark, but it's like the side of the church.
Okay, is this um the road that goes beyond the church and then connects to Viewcrest in the back?
Yes.
Okay. So near the front of this artery is where you and Officer Jaimez were parked, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I tender these exhibits to the state for any objection and offering evidence.
No objection.
All right, defense exhibits 52, 54, 55, and 56 are admitted without objection.
May I publish them to the jury?
Yes.
And Officer Jaimez, those photographs appear to be photographs that were taken on the night of the incident, correct?
I'm not Officer Jaimez.
I'm sorry, Officer Acuna.
Yes.
My apologies. Okay. And now I'm going to show you what I've marked as Defendant Exhibit 60, 61, 63, 64, and 65. take a look at these, please. Let me know if you recognize these photos.
Yes,
Okay. Are these photographs taken the night of the incident?
yes,
Are these photographs that are taken closer to O'Connor Road but facing up the hill?
correct.
Okay. Enter to the state and offer an evidence, Judge.
No objection.
And what are the exhibit numbers again, please?
60, 61, 63, 64, and 65.
All right. Defense exhibits 60, 61, 63, 64, and 65 are admitted without objection.
May I publish them to the jury, Judge?
Yes.
And Dr. Imes, I'm going to show you what has been marked as defendant's exhibits 66, 67, and 68. You recognize these photographs?
You keep calling me Officer Jaimez.
I'm sorry. Have I done that previously before you corrected me?
No.
Okay. Sorry then.
Yes, I recognize these photos.
Okay. These photos are taken from the perspective towards the top of the hill facing towards O'Connor, correct?
Yes,
And now I'm going to show you what I've marked as defendant's exhibits 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, and 74. Tell me if you recognize those photographs.
yes,
Okay. Are these photographs taken from down by on O'Connor, but facing away from the church?
yes.
Okay. Tender these exhibits to the state and stretch.
No objection.
And what are the exhibit numbers, please?
I'll have Mr. Xavier cite them to you.
Judge, there's 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, and 74. No skips.
All right, states exhibits number 66 through 74 are admitted without objection.
May I publish them? Sure.
Yes.
So it states and it's.
I'm sorry, defense's exhibits 66 through 74 are admitted without objection. Thank you, Cindy.
Is it fair to say that the first time, Officer Acuna, that you came into contact or that you noticed a white SUV was when it turned into the parking lot?
Yes, after it had turned into the parking lot.
Okay. You didn't notice this white SUV at any time prior to it turning into that parking lot?
Correct.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
No further question.
All right, is this witness excused?
By the state, yes.
Yes, by the defense as well.
All right, the rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone. All right,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
may step down if you make sure you leave your microphone. All right, and if I could have parties approach. Okay, that's my
on records.
All right, everyone, please be seated. State, call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the state calls Xavier Salazar.
All right, could you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up so that everyone can hear.
Okay.
If you'll state your name for the record, please.
Xavier Salazar.
All right, state, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Salazar, can you just introduce yourself to the jury, please?
Hi, I'm Xavier Salazar.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's late in the day, so I'm going to try to go as fast as possible, but I don't want to go too fast where the jury just can't gather why you're here today. One, do you live here in San Antonio, Texas?
I do.
And that's in Bexar County, Texas, is that right?
Correct.
And do you live off of and you live there currently?
Correct.
And back on May 22nd, 2022, did you live at that location?
Yes, I did.
And obviously of why you came here today, you lived at that location. A lot of people have what we call security cameras or whatever attached to their house or front door, garages, things of that nature. Do you have some type of security system or cameras on your house?
Yes, we do.
And did you have that back on May 22nd, 2022?
Yes.
And briefly, can you tell the jury what it pertains to?
I have footage of a car driving past our residence and it concerned me. So I went to investigate.
Okay, well, I guess,
Well,
hold on one second. I think you misunderstood the question. It might
Yeah,
have been a
probably.
bad question. I'm going a little fast. Do you have cameras on your house?
correct.
How many cameras are there?
5 working?
5 working. And on that particular day, May 22nd, 2022, were all those 5 cameras working?
Correct.
And obviously you say cameras, so is that visual?
Yes,
So you can see a movie on it, or you can see it on the screen, is that right?
correct.
And does it have audio to it?
Optional, but we do not have audio.
So any videos that would come from your system does not have audio on it, is that right? And back on May 22nd, 2022, did anything bring your attention around 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning outside your house?
I heard a noise.
And describe to the jury that noise.
It sounded like a car was damaged and it sounded like it was making a clanging noise with the motion of the tire.
And then what did you do after you heard this?
I observed, waiting to see the car coming past and back around throughout the cul-de-sac, and I did not. So I went to go see if they needed help, thinking maybe they had a flat tire.
Okay, and then what happened after that?
I didn't see a car at all.
And at that point, did you ever see any other vehicles on your street?
While I was out there, I saw 2 police cruisers, SUV style.
And I'm going to show you what's marked state exhibit number 14.
Okay.
I know you probably don't know state exhibit number 14, the number, but inside the envelope, there's there's a disc. Do you recognize this disc?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
I was shown it to an attorney showed it to me earlier today.
Does it have any markings on it that you can identify?
Yes, my initials and a date.
Yeah.
Today's date.
Does it have some words on there that says view crest video? Is that correct?
Correct.
And were you able to view this, the videos that were on this disc?
Yes.
And do you recall how many were on there?
3?
And out of those 3 videos, were those videos that were made by your security system at your house at 4818 Viewcrest?
Correct.
And it was from May 22nd, 2022.
I don't recall. What was the date again?
May 22nd, 2022.
Sounds about right.
Okay. And let me ask you about this. A lot of times, some of these have timestamps on them.
Yes.
And on this particular system, was this timestamp accurate?
No.
And explain to the jury, what do you mean that the timestamp was not accurate?
I noticed when I was reviewing the footage before that the time didn't line up. So as I was watching current video feed, I looked at my phone and saw it was about 40 minutes fast. Yeah,
So the time is not highly accurate because it's
Right.
about 40 minutes off,
right,
roughly.
right.
But otherwise, other than that, these videos on here fairly and accurately represent that night that you saw this vehicle go by and then also some other vehicles come up.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would offer state exhibit number 14 and the evidence will tender to the defense for any objections.
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibit 14 is admitted without objection.
And Judge, may we publish?
Yes.
And Judge, I've talked to defense counsel previously. I went ahead, since we had some issues earlier, I downloaded it to our hard drive of this computer, so it could be a little bit faster. So I just would, and I think defense counsel doesn't have any objection to that.
No objections, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Now, the jury is looking at a video, and you can go ahead and play it. There's no audio to it, so we're going to be playing this. What is this showing? What does this video show?
The white vehicle is my vehicle. And I'm sorry, there's a glare on the screen.
You can look up above to the
Okay.
right.
Oh,
Sorry
better.
about that.
The vehicle next to it is my mother's vehicle. No, I'm sorry, that's my aunt's vehicle, and the one next to it is my mother's. And this is our front yard facing Viewcrest Road.
Okay. And so this is a depiction of your front yard and your driveway. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And we're going to go ahead and fast forward. Just moving. Just give me one moment.
Yes.
Sorry, Judge, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties yet again. It's worked upstairs, but it's not working currently right now, Judge. Judge, I'm gonna go ahead and proceed to something else real quick.
Okay.
Since we're having some difficulties, my co-counsel is gonna go try to make another copy quickly.
Okay.
Well, okay. Can you please, again, describe to the jury, you heard a vehicle sounded like it was some clanging or grinding. Can you describe to the jury what type of vehicle that was or what it looked like?
I don't recall exactly what the vehicle looked like. I just saw lights and I heard the noise pass by my window.
And you viewed this video earlier in the day, is that right?
Yes.
Do you remember what color that vehicle was?
In the video, it was a light color. It looked about white.
And did you see it proceed down the street?
Yes.
And you live on a cul-de-sac, is that correct?
I live near a cul-de-sac.
Okay. And I'm gonna show you what's been marked state exhibit number 15. And are you familiar with this overview map?
Yes.
And in fact, is there a highlighted portion on there? Is that your house?
Yes.
And then if you look down a few lots or a few houses to the left on this map, is that like a dead end or a cul-de-sac?
It is a cul-de-sac. Yes.
And on this particular day, when you saw this light colored vehicle that you heard the grinding noise or clanking noise, which way was it going? Was it going to the left of this map or was it going to the right?
To the left,
To the left. And was that going towards the dead end or away from the dead end?
towards the cul-de-sac.
Towards the cul-de-sac. And so when you saw this vehicle go towards the cul-de-sac, did you ever see this vehicle come back from the cul-de-sac and leave your street going to the right?
No.
And so this vehicle stayed in that location in the dead end area. Did you ever see that vehicle again?
No.
Did you ever see that vehicle parked along the road on the cul-de-sac?
No.
Did you ever see it parked at any other house at that location?
No.
Just soon thereafter, you saw this vehicle go by. Did you see other patrol vehicles arrive?
Yes.
And at that time, were you outside?
Yes.
And so you saw some patrol vehicles drive by. And did they go towards the cul-de-sac?
Yes.
And did they pull into the cul-de-sac?
Yes, they turned around into the cul-de-sac and proceeded outward.
So they went to the cul-de-sac, turned around and proceeded outward.
Mhm.
Okay. And Judge, we'll offer state exhibit number 15 into evidence. We'll tender to the defense for any objections.
No objection.
All right, state's exhibit number 15 is admitted without objection.
Okay, may I publish in the jury yard?
Yes.
And there's a little highlighted portion, that's your house, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, at that point, did you ever make contact with any of these police officers that arrived at the scene?
Not that day.
Not that.
Well, or later that day.
Later the day, we're talking about the nighttime.
Right.
So your early morning hours, then you
Correct.
talk to them when it was daylight.
Correct.
Okay. And so you made contact with them at that time. Did you share this video with them?
Not right away. I had to pull it off onto a memory stick
Mhm.
and I sent it through an email. He handed me a card and the proper email to send it to.
Okay. And so that's how the police department obtained the video that is on that disc.
Correct.
And then the next day, did you go to the cul-de-sac area and observe that area the next day during the daylight?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked state exhibit number 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And if you can just briefly go through that, look through them, flip through them, and then tell me when you're done. You done?
Yes, I am done.
So after you viewed 16 through 20, state exhibit 16 through 20, you recognize that area.
Yes.
Now, to be fair, did you take these pictures?
No.
But is this fairly and accurately represent that next morning or that next day
Yes.
of May 22nd, 2022?
Yes.
And this is what would be viewed from the cul-de-sac area, that dead end area down from your house.
Correct.
And state exhibit number 16 depicts there's a road there. Do you remember what road that is?
I think it's Higgins.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's in state exhibit number 16. And then state exhibit number 17, is this another picture, but it looks like a little bit closer towards the end of that cul-de-sac, is that correct?
Correct.
And then state exhibit number 18, will just show that Higgins with the sidewalk, and then looks like there's something in the grass.
Correct.
And you're not an expert, but what does that look like to you in the grass?
A tire track.
Tire track. And then state exhibit number 19, can you identify this area?
Yes.
And does this also show that sort of what you defined as a tire track, it looks like?
Correct.
And then a little bit of looks like what I call a barrier wall, or a little bit of a concrete wall, is that correct?
Yes.
And that is looking towards the cul-de-sac off the sidewalk and near that main road, is that right?
Exhibit 19. Yes.
Okay, that's exhibit 19. And then exhibit number 20, state exhibit number 20, is just another picture very similar to state exhibit number 19, but it shows that barrier wall or that concrete wall. And to the left would be the cul-de-sac, and then the main street is off to the right.
Yes.
And Judge Wolf, I've tendered to defense earlier for any objections, but state exhibit number 16 through 20.
And council and I have discussed, I have no objections. Jim.
All right, states exhibit 16 through 20 is admitted without objection.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and hold it up here. I'm not gonna play with technology right now. May I publish to the jury?
Yes,
Okay. State exhibit number 16 shows that cul-de-sac at the end of your street. Is that right?
Yes.
This right here.
Yes.
Okay. And so we have that map that was entered in earlier. So this shows the end of your street. Then state exhibit number 17 is just a little bit closer picture towards the end of that cul-de-sac.
Yes.
And it shows a grassy area, and it also shows the sidewalk at the end of the cul-de-sac, and then it shows that main street behind it. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, state exhibit number 18, what you just described as sort of looking towards the cul-de-sac or
Yes.
in the grass, but you're standing on the main road.
Right.
Past the cul-de-sac.
Right.
And it shows us what you described as tire marks in the grass.
Tire tracks.
Tire tracks. State exhibit number 19 gives a little bit better rendition of that. You can see the tire track in the grass,
Yes.
and you can see what we call that concrete wall or that barrier wall. Is that right?
Correct.
So you'd be standing on the sidewalk by that main road,
Correct. In that picture.
looking towards, in fact, you can see your house in the background, right?
I'm not sure.
Sort of in the background, right? It would be back here somewhere.
I see our vehicles and the fence.
Okay, and that's back there
Right.
on the road. Okay, so you see it back in the background. And then state exhibit number 20 is just another picture of that barrier wall at the end of that cul-de-sac.
Let me see again.
So-
Yes.
Now, just to ask, you said you saw that light colored vehicle drive by your house, but it never came out of that cul-de-sac.
Correct.
You never saw it parked down in that cul-de-sac.
Never.
And then just minutes later, you saw two patrol vehicles pull into that cul-de-sac.
Correct.
This would be a copy. Judge, if you give me just a moment, my co-counsel maybe has a better copy. Judge, may I approach?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, to the witness.
Oh, the
I
witness,
apologize.
yes.
All right.
I'm gonna show you this video. Is this the video that was taken from your house?
Correct.
Working on the laptop here, so, I'm gonna fast forward it to 2:40. It's gonna be at 2.
Jason, it's working on my.
It's working? Okay. Judge, we now have state exhibit number 14 working. There you go. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. Apologize. All right, we have a time on there that's ticking on there. 2:38:44 a.m. roughly. It's running right now on May 22nd, 2022. And you already previously described this video as being in front of your house. Is that correct?
Correct.
And if we could fast forward to where the actual AM time reads about 2:42:00. That's it. And so we're gonna not fast forward it, we're starting at 2:41:53 or so. Keep on playing, please. Now, speaking of that, that's where you saw that vehicle drive by, is that right?
Correct.
That's that light colored vehicle.
Right.
Now, seeing that video again this time, could you describe that to the jury, was that like a sedan, like a car or an SUV or a truck?
I wasn't too sure. Maybe a hatchback, SUV.
And then
It wasn't a coupe.
it did state that later on in this video, the jury would see you out there, is that correct?
Correct.
And then you also observed a couple of patrol vehicles, is that right?
Correct. We just fast forwarded to 2:45, about 40 seconds. Who's that individual that you see in the video there? That is me.
And what are you watching pass by your house now?
A patrol vehicle. Police. A second one.
Now what do you see?
Patrol vehicles with their lights and sirens going by quickly.
And they're leaving that cul-de-sac area.
Correct.
And now to be able to leave that cul-de-sac area without going back through the road and not going into a garage or anything, how would you, I mean, if those tire marks lead towards that concrete wall, is that where the vehicle would have to go if it wasn't in that cul-de-sac?
Yes.
We'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
No questions, Judge. Thank you, Mr. Salazar.
All right, is the witness excused?
From the state, yes, Judge, and
From the defense as well.
All right, thank you.
Great.
I'll make sure you leave the little microphone behind.
Judge, apologize about the.
No,
technical
no problem.
difficulties.
So that's the last witness for today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard evidence today. You are not allowed to discuss what you've heard with each other, with anyone else, or start thinking about this case. Don't think about this case outside this courtroom. Everything that you need to know about this case is to come from inside the courtroom. You can tell people if they ask, you can say, yes, I'm on a jury, but you can't tell them what this case is about or anything of that nature. Does everyone understand?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do any research. If you happen to see something involving this case, just turn it off and ignore it, okay? So we're going to start tomorrow on time, I promise. We can go off the record, Cindy. I have a docket in the morning, but I'm cutting that docket off. So we're going to start at 1:30. Now, here's the thing about us starting at 1:30. The same number of jurors that were here when you first were selected are going to be here on Thursday. But here's the catch. If you arrive here at 12:30, usually people will go off campus for lunch because sometimes they think it's too expensive downtown. So they'll drive away. I call it going off campus for lunch. So if you're here by 12:30, you should have parking space, or even if you arrive at 12, you should have parking space available. And the other thing, make sure that you always have your parking validated. I think Deputy Laura do you give them the parking validation before?
Sometimes, no.
Yes. So, but just make sure when we have breaks, if you can, get your parking validated. All right, any questions before I release you? All right, thank you all so much for your patience today. Everyone, please rise.